Next on the agenda, we're going to hear House File 784. Chair Noor. And I'll move that House File 784 be re-referred to the General Register. There is an author's amendment, which is a DE1. So, Chair Noor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to, good morning, Mr. Chair and members. If we can adopt the DE1.
All those in favor of adopting the DE1, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The amendment is adopted. To your bill, Chair Noor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. It's good to be back here in the workforce and discuss this bill. It's been a while coming back here. So, Mr. Chair and members, this is something that we have contemplated, something that we have discussed. To start with, we've been talking about the days that appeal process is done, whether you're an employer or a worker, that we give you enough time that you can appeal the process. Right now, as we stand, whether you have got a good cause or for any reason, whether you're employer or the worker, you don't have the time frame to appeal that process. So we're making it sure that we can provide 60 days that you can appeal, whether you're employer or worker, so that you do have enough time. Let's say you're sick in the hospital and you didn't get your mail and so many other things, you will miss that window of 20 days. So this bill makes sure that there's enough time for the employers and also the workers to react. Members, on the other side, I think this bill, what it does is many people who are recipients of unemployment, who are laid off on no fault of their own, and then they end up being burdened with, criminal penalties. I'll give you an example. If someone forgot to put the gross amount, instead they put the net amount on their check, which happens to most of us, they will be penalized under the current law. So what we're doing here is, if there's no intentionality, that you did not commit misrepresentation because you didn't intend to do that, you should never be criminalized under the unemployment system that we have. When we're trying to provide the services to those who need the most because they don't have any other income, and then we burden them with penalties. I'll give you an example. In the state of Minnesota, we're charging 40% penalty if you receive additional overpayment in the unemployment system. Most of the states, even surrounding us, according to the federal, they allow us up to 15%. We should never be charging someone who unintentionally, or whatever circumstances may happen, 40% penalty on what they receive. Likewise, Mr. Chair and members, we charge them interest on top of that. I think most of the states surrounding us, they don't charge anything. I believe it's 12%. So what this bill does is removes the interest, keeps the maximum allowable under the federal rules, the 15% penalty, in case you receive an overpayment. Mr. Chair and members, I'm more passionate about making sure that any Minnesotans who lost their job due to no fault of their own can continue to receive this great safety net that we have in the state of Minnesota. This bill is overdue, and I will ask my testifier to go over some of the provisions in the bill.
Welcome to committee. Please identify yourself for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jessica Webster. I'm a staff attorney with Legal Aid. I've worked in unemployment insurance for about 16 years, and during that time, I've also served on DEED's external stakeholder group of sorts called the Unemployment Insurance Advisory Council. So for many years, Legal Aid has worked alongside Representative Noor and advocated to ensure that unemployment insurance is accessible to all workers. And Legal Aid still sees firsthand how some workers, typically those concentrated in low-wage industries, have barriers to accessing UI. Those workers are disproportionately women, people of color, low-income parents, victims of violence, people who speak English as a second language, Minnesotans experiencing homelessness, and adults working through chronic illness and disability. So deed and legal aid would tell you the reasons for the barriers are complicated, and this bill does not address all of them. However, this bill, as Representative Knorr said, Chair Knorr, I apologize, does make 3 critically important reforms. One, that extra time to appeal, and it's for employers and employees, so it goes from 20 to 60 days. 2, it clarifies that misrepresentation is not unintentional mistake. So when someone doesn't understand the difference between gross and net income, when they don't understand that as a caretaker of an apartment building, their reduction in rent counts as income, when they accidentally make a mistake and they have multiple jobs, multiple shifts, multiple hours, they don't have an employment dashboard that probably many of the folks in this room have to cobble together the paperwork. Unintentional mistake is not misrepresentation. So this bill makes that clear. And then the third thing, when people do make mistakes, if they miss the 60-day, if they make a mistake or use poor judgment when they're reporting, we're not going to create a debtor's prison for folks to repay and to have these debts. So what it does is it reduces that 40% penalty to 15%, like most other states. It gets rid of interest. It cancels the debt after 6 years instead of after 10 years, like many other states, and like as is a common credit practice. And it also, Minnesota right now is the only state in the nation that does not let people offset future unemployment insurance benefits to repay that old debt. We make people permanently blanket ineligible to receive unemployment insurance until they repay that old debt. So this offset would be something that it's totally unique to Minnesota right now, and it would be bringing us in line with other states. So what this bill doesn't do, we don't touch revenue or deeds tools to collect overpayments. If you have an overpayment, deed can still use garnishment and revenue recapture. We really don't touch the criminal or the fraud statute here. So if there is an egregious fraud on the unemployment insurance system, we didn't touch 268-182 that talks about maybe referring something for criminal prosecution. I don't think those are typically seen in the system, but if there was something very troubling to deed, they still have that tool at their disposal. So I'll sum up. I know there's a lot of bills on the calendar today, so I don't want to spend too much time testifying further, but we have a number of examples of people who have few $1,000 overpayments that have turned into $11,000, $15,000, and it's really burdensome and unnecessary. So thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Discussion. Representative Baker.
Mr. Chair and Representative Knorr, thank you for this bill. I have tried to help a few of my own employees that have gotten stuck in that donut where they did make a bad choice, and it got a little bit out of control. It was turned into probably $2,000, $3,000 that they were overpaid with the unemployment fund, and with the penalty and the interest, I tried to help him pay it off and be the banker, if you would, just so he could pay me and not do the garnishment thing, and it was such a burden. So this is long overdue. I'm glad we're bringing some common sense to this. So what I hear and I don't know who wants to answer this, but does it give deed the ability to make those exceptions then, to look at the unintentional consequences? I still don't want to give people free passes if they knowingly said, I just love taking this money. And probably the part of it is people get behind, and when this money is coming in the mail and maybe they're back to work for an extra week or two, it's hard to turn it off. It's a real conflict of interest, to be honest with you. But I just want to make sure that the folks at deed that have to manage this do now have the right tools to be able to kind of bring some sensibility to this, so our employees can move on and not be just completely riddled with penalties. So appreciate the bill, but if there's an answer to that, that'd be great. Thanks.
Chair Knorr.
Mr. Chair, Representative Beck, I think this will be a good question for deed because they're the ones who run day-to-day operations. I don't know if anyone from deed wants to weigh on that question, or maybe we can follow up with them. Sure, you've been doing a great work there.
We're just discussing where your bill's going to go.
Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Darielle Dannon, and I am the Government Relations Director at the Department of Employment and Economic Development. And I was chatting with your staff, so I did not hear the question.
Representative Baker.
Mr. Chair, Ms. Dannon, thanks for stepping in. I guess as an employer, I just mentioned, as I had talked to Deed a number of years ago about these horrific penalties that were there, and they were locked in statute. You couldn't really do much about it. Does this language, Ms. Danner, help you do what we want to do, where they have the ability to either make decisions and just look at the case, make those kind of decisions without kind of falling behind statute rules and laws that we just can't give them that flexibility? Is this the language you're looking for to solve this problem?
Ms. Dannon.
Representative Baker, I appreciate the question. So I think as a broader statement, the department continues to have some concerns about this bill. This bill is quite broad. It does quite a few different things. Does this bill allow the department the discretion? I think I'm going to restate maybe what you're asking, and we'll check and see if that's appropriate. Does this bill give the department the discretion to impose penalties only when it's appropriate? Is that what you're asking, Representative Baker?
Representative Baker.
Yes.
Ms. Dannon.
Okay. So Representative Baker, the department does have discretion under the existing law, and we do have hearings with folks. So it is a pretty common happenstance that if we determine that folks perhaps were subject to identity theft, they were not mentally competent to make decisions, they had a family member doing things for them, we have a hearing on that, and we do have the latitude under the current law to not impose penalties when that's the case.
Representative Baker.
That's good. Thank you very much. I look forward to this moving forward.
Chair Nor.
Mr. Chair and members, I think this is in subdivision 6, page 12, line 22, when we're talking about the overpayment. The commissioner may not compromise the amount of any overpaid unemployment benefits, including penalties and interest. So, yes, we allow the commissioner not to compromise any process, in terms of leeway or anything else. So this is already in subdivision 6. I think that was the question you may have asked.
Further discussion. Representative Harder.
Thank you, Chair Zong and Representative Norm. My question relates to, I think I need clarification on the bill. So do you know how many, if this is adopted, the people that are currently in repayment or whatever, does this affect them? I'm just having a little trouble with the bill. I'm not so sure that if people have debt to pay, they should pay it willingly. But I'm just curious, the people that are already in these payment plans or whatever however you call it, does this affect them or is this going forward?
Ms. Webster.
Mr. Chair, Representative Harder, I think that's a good question, and this is not retroactive relief for folks as written, and that's something else that legislators have raised for us, that we should maybe consider dropping that 40% and running interest that's been running on folks so that other people can benefit to repay their debts this way. So I think that's something we could talk about.
Representative Harder.
Thank you.
Closing comments, Chair Nor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I hear the department's concern, but I think this has been an ongoing issue. Quite frankly, it's unfair to many folks who lost their job due to no fault of their own. This is not fair to the whole system because we understand this issue. We have discussed it many times. And I want to make sure that we give people the chance. Mistakes are made. We need the correction to be fair. And quite frankly, 40% is unfair. Quite frankly, 12% interest rate on top of that is unfair. Quite frankly, if people made mistake due to not being intentional, and then we criminalize them, we put burdens on them, they're trying to make their best to meet their basic needs. So what this bill does is to ensure that we have a fair system in the unemployment system, especially for those who are low income in service industry and many other industries who are the recipients of this benefit. So, Mr. Chair and members, I know we will be making some, little bit of a change of the direction of where the bill is going, but I wanted to give the department the opportunity to give us a guidance. What is fair in that process? How can we resolve this issue that has been a burden to many Minnesotans? And I think this is the moment that we look into that and solve some of those problems. We set aside a specific special revenue account that we're collecting money from these penalties and interest and accruing. So it's sitting in the account instead of making sure that we give back to those who really deserve that funding. So I ask for your support, and hopefully we can make any adjustments and work with the department to make sure that we have clear guidance in how to move forward.
Thank you, Chair Noor. Members, I just want to make a correction. This bill is going to be re-referred to the Ways and Means Committee and not the General Register. And so I will renew my motion that House File 784 as amended be re-referred to the Ways and Means Committee. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion prevails, and the bill is on its way to Ways and Means Committee.